Hi, everyone. Good evening, everybody. I am so thrilled to be here tonight with Reese and Harlan. Congratulations on Gone Before Goodbye. I lay in a cold bath, I was telling this to Reese earlier, and read the entire thing. I was there for like 3-4 hours. I think my husband thought I died. I devoured it, basically, so it did exactly what I think you both intended. Now, there is so much in there, but what is really galling is I probably can't ask you about most of it because it's a spoiler, isn't it? So we're sort of going to have to dance around as much as I can. So let's start with how this came about, because I know that you both met 8 years ago, but I also know that you don't like collaborating, Harlan. I'm not that guy, is how you put it in an interview. So how did you become that guy? Is Reese Witherspoon just too compelling to turn down?
I hate when I get this question first because I have to open up the sentence saying, so one day Reese Witherspoon called me. And it's hard to say that without sounding boastful. But one day Reese Witherspoon called me. And she said she had an idea she wanted to discuss with me, right? Is that...
Yeah, I had this idea for a character, because I have ideas for characters all the time, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're just stupid. But this one was, I thought, really interesting, because I'd started learning about private surgeons, American surgeons who go overseas to do illegal surgery on high net worth people all over the world. They do organ transplants, they do plastic surgery, and I was reading about it in another book, and so I started asking doctors who I would have dinner with, and I'd say, do you do this? And people are like, no, I don't.
I like that you think that they might tell you.
And then one time I went to dinner, and this guy goes, yeah, I do that all the time. How did you know? And I said, can I take you to lunch? And the next day, he told me all these stories about these surgeries he does all over the world, from India to Dubai to Russia. And I thought, this would be an incredible character to play. And so then I got in my head and started thinking about it. And I thought about it for 2 years. I just sat on it. And then one day I was like, I think I should write the book. I feel like this is a book, and I think I know what the book is. So I don't know how to write a book. But I know a lot of authors. So I had met Harlan at a conference 9 years earlier, and I love his work. He's just the master.
Oh, go on. Go on.
Okay. He's just a master of twists and turns. And so I thought he would be the perfect person, but I knew historically he does not collaborate. And I thought, okay, well, let me take a swing at it. So I called him and I said, would you ever let me pitch you a book idea? And he said, for you and me? Because we do have very different sensibilities, you know? I'm kind of known as an optimist and a humorist, and he's dark, really, really, really dark. So anyway, I pitched him the book. And
She came to my apartment.
yeah.
And I confess I was somewhat wary, because I'm not that guy, as you point out. And Reese starts telling me the idea, and I'm like, damn, that's good.
How much of it did Reese come with? Because there's obviously a lot of big themes in there. Did Reese arrive with all of the themes, or did you add some of the
she came with this sort of world that she was describing. And we had this idea, I think she had also the idea that the surgeon was going to go off to Russia and do surgery, and then because she knew this would appeal to me, and then he vanishes, because everyone knows I'm a sucker for vanishing people. I know, I'm the missing persons guy. So anyway, she sold it, and literally, as soon as she came in the room, we were both like right away connecting, and she was telling me the idea, and I'm grabbing out a legal pad, and we moved from these 2 comfy chairs to the dining room table. And I'm like, well, what if she does that? And he's like, what if he does that? And for about 3 hours, we sat there going back and forth, writing stuff down. And I'm like, oh, wow, I am so in. I can't, and we both are obsessed. We both get obsessed with story. We both get totally drawn in. And it was just from then on, we both knew, I think, that it was going to happen.
Okay, so we can say that it's illegal surgery, that it's Russia, very rich Russian people, some amazing scene setting. You can just imagine some of the incredible things you evoke. I'm interested to know if Harlan had said, no, thank you so much, but see you in another 9 years, would you have gone to someone else?
Wow.
Oh.
I want to know how much you felt like this was a book that had to be done with Harlan, or this was a book that just had to come out any which way.
I knew I had to get it made. I didn't know how I was going to get it made. I don't know. I don't deal in like what ifs because it didn't happen that way.
She had an idea that it would be the perfect one for you.
I'm very persuasive too. And I'm very clear.
Evidently.
I think I'm very clear too. And I think he knows exactly how I felt about his work. I don't write every person who's an author who does adaptations. I loved your Netflix show. I really genuinely like his work. So we already had a rapport established between each other.
We both fanboyed and fangirled over each other.
Did you think about saying no?
No. I mean, once you were there, before you came, I was wary of the idea, and I wasn't sure because I didn't want to be that guy. Like and we talked about this. So we set some ground rules up right away. One, only the two of us were going to write this. No third person in the room, no note taker, no hiring this out. We are going to do it ourselves. We are going to be completely obsessed by this. And I was warning Reese. I really admire this for Reese, that she's taking a chance here. We both were pushing a different, going for a different thing. But when you're a novelist, you can't hide. You can't blame the script. You can't blame the camera angle. You can't blame anything. It's just you, and they're going to be after us. And so we have to make this our absolute best work. And we can't think of a movie adaptation. The biggest mistake writers make is they write a book thinking, ooh, this is going to make a great TV show or movie. I've certainly had plenty adapted, and Reese has worked on it. But if you aim for that, you're in trouble. Reese and I just wanted this to be a great book. Made into a movie or TV show, fine. But we were just focused on those. So we had a bunch of little rules that both of us could speak our minds all the time. We both left our egos at the door. What else did we? We made a whole bunch of little discussions.
I asked him before we started, I said, how sensitive are you? How honest can I be? Which I think is a good thing to say at the beginning of any partnership or collaboration. And then luckily he wasn't a sensitive.
What would you have done?
She made me cry a couple times. I do want to say that.
I was going to say, what would you have done if he said, I only like positive feedback?
Yeah. As long as it's complimentary, I'm fine.
Yeah.
All the feedback you want, as long as it's positive.
I'm interested to know, as a first-time novelist, what's your writing style like? Was your writing style already naturally similar to Harlan's? Because it obviously blended. Your work obviously works really well together. But did you have the same approach to like sentences? Constructing them.
Well, I think it's important to go back and kind of talk about we didn't even know how to begin. I think in the beginning we thought we were going to share a Google Doc and I would add things and he would add things, and it was a disaster.
Oh, that didn't work.
Because we're both Luddites. And, there's a lot of cool technology here, but we were like, did you erase something? I forgot my password. How do we get into this document again?
I couldn't figure out how to open the doc.
Well,
and then I was
sounds
scared I
even
was going
worse.
to delete everything, and he was going to be like, what? That's my only copy. And so we ended up just he started to take the reins and said, listen, I'm going to try and dig in here, and I'm going to start the first couple of chapters, and then I'm going to send them to you right away. And then I want all your feedback. I want every bit of it, because I think it was important that he kind of figured out how to set the tone. And I knew a lot about the character, but I think I didn't even know how to begin in some of it,
We talked a ton before we started to write, and eventually, from talking back and forth, I got the voice in my head. There's the simple questions like first person, third person, present tense, past tense. And at some point I said to Reese, just give me a couple weeks. I want to just try it. I'm going to write the first 20 or 30 pages, and I'll send them to you. And we literally, the whole thing, we talked or emailed or texted almost every day. Reese came to my apartment once every 2 or 3 weeks for a couple hours, and we, more than that, and we would go through it. It was constant going back and forth on that. But at the end of the day, after we messed up with this Google Doc, there's an old Yiddish expression that you can't ride two horses with one behind. Only one hand could be on the keyboard, and they have to be mine because just had to be mine, So, and Reese was good with that, and she would send me stuff all the time that I would use, sometimes almost verbatim.
Like if there was a character, like the character was a woman, obviously, and I wanted her to feel like it's totally different if you had a guy there. Women interact with their patients completely differently. I would tell him things that happened in my life where I would run into a young woman in a bathroom who was dating an older man, and she was crying, and I was like, this is exactly the conversation we had. Or, sometimes I'd say, okay, well, a woman wouldn't say it like that. I would think my dark night of the soul would feel very different than a guy's.
Tell them where I asked you about what she should wear when she was going to the reunion party.
Yeah.
So I asked Reese what this character would be wearing, thinking I'd get an answer like, jeans or a dress. But
Well, I was telling him about the mental math that women have to do every day of their life before they leave the house. And this character is having the worst day of her life. She's in her sweatpants, but she has to go to this fancy gala that's in honor of her mother, and she wants to melt into the floor, but she knows she has to put on shoes. And it's like, what kind of shoes? Should it be like a heel or a flat? No, she got to wear a heel. It's respectful. Okay, should it be long? That feels dowdy. And wait, if it's too short, it's too provocative. And then should she wear black? It's not a funeral. And
this is the email I got from Reese, by the way.
Should you wash her hair? She could probably go one more day. She was trying to make the blowout last. And so it was actually a big part of the book that not only does she have to be excellent at what she does, she has to deal with how she shows up in the world and how she looks to other people, because she elicits a response from people. And so she's always calculating. And then we had her in this crazy world where she'd show up at a nightclub in Dubai, and I'd be like, Harlan, she can't just roll over there in sweatpants. We have to very cleverly insert an outfit somewhere. So,
did it make you reflect on any of the female characters you've written and think, oh, I could have put her in something else? Yeah, I got to redo her wardrobe.
A little bit. It was an interesting lesson. But those are the kind of things we would just go back and forth on pretty much everything like this and have discussions about it. And then we would try to write it, and then Reese would say, no, that, or this, and we would just keep doing it. And it worked out really, it was actually a ton of fun also. We had a lot of laughs doing it.
Fun.
Would you both have tics like, I can't use that word, I can't bear that word,
Oh,
or no, I would never use a colon? Was
You
there
know my
like-
word I don't like,
What's your word?
but I think we used it anyway.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't like the word weird.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I like the word weird. So, yeah, we did.
I want to know the context
Can you
now.
get rid of the word weird?
You know what you said back to me? I wrote,
something.
and I go, I don't like the word weird. And he was like, well, that's weird. I like
It's quite
it.
a loaded word. Weird.
Well, I had a therapist once tell me that weird is a child word.
Really?
Wow. I'm just getting slammed up here.
Well,
No, it's not your.
Well, I
Very
think
mature.
weird can be quite spiteful. It could be a word. It could be a word that people use to dismiss something that's different, maybe.
Well, it's
I mean, if
not
we're
a good
really going to
descriptive
psychoanalyze
adjective.
it.
Like if you're trying to describe somebody, weird is not the best way.
It is not.
To describe them.
And it's probably a male word, frankly, because men are weird. So I think it's a word. So I was putting it in her mouth, I think, often, and she would say, a lot of times it would be, let's change that. I want her to say it differently. And it made it fun. It was a lot of challenge. And the book really is a blend. I mean, I don't know sometimes where I began and Reese ends and where Reese began and I ended. It became pretty seamless that way.
That's a good title for your next book.
Weird?
Where she begun and I end.
Oh,
Where did she begin or where did
began?
I end?
Yeah.
Trilogy. Reese, you obviously spent 2 years with Maggie before you brought her to Harlan. Did you feel quite possessive of her? Because you spent so much time thinking about how she would appear. And also she's had it's heartbreaking, like what she's been through and what she then goes through in the book. It's not, the easiest journey.
The way I build any character, like all the characters I've ever built, from Elle Woods to Tracy Flick to June Carter Cash, it's like I go back in time and think, okay, where did they go to school? What were their parents like? What did their parents do for a living? Did they grow up with money? Was there no money? And you can construct a character. You have to have all of that foundational work in order to care. And I build characters that are the leads of movies. I build so an audience feels sympathy and imagines themselves as that character. So I wanted her to be very high values and principles, That was a big piece too, is my parents were in the military. My dad's a doctor, he was a surgeon, and my mother was a nurse. And so I grew up on Army bases and Air Force bases when I was a little girl, and they would talk about surgery all the time, like inappropriate amounts of surgery with a 5-year-old. My dad did rhinoplasty and a lot of work with ears, and he would tell us disgusting stories.
What can you
of
do
things
to an ear?
What?
Like, what kind of surgery does one do
Things
to
like
an
crawl
ear?
into people's ears. Like, I know, it's gross.
I'd be interested to hear all the stories.
So he would show us actual surgeries. He'd videotape the surgeries and show them to my brother and I, because I think he wanted us to be surgeons, but I just got grossed out. But I think it embedded in my mind, too, that these people are very principled, right? So the military, on top of being a doctor, you have to be extremely disciplined, but you also have to reserve judgment. And I think that was a big piece for me talking to Harlan before we started the character. I read a lot about war doctors. Actually, I think Dr. David Knott is here, maybe, I read his book, War Doctor, that was incredible, about the psyche behind being one of these people who travels to Syria and Afghanistan and performs these. I mean, he's done everything from amputations to cardiothoracic surgery in the same day, and then delivered a baby at night. And they're just
unbelievable stress, like the least ideal circumstances to be doing high-risk surgery.
Yeah, and
when
the
you're
other
on
thing
like
is,
a time deadline and you don't have everything you need.
and you're being shot at, or somebody dies right in front of you. And that's why I think the opening chapter of the book is really about performing surgery in a war zone. And it grips you because you're trying to do this really intense surgery using your hands, and people are shooting at you. But I thought, wouldn't it be cool to write a woman like that, who's so disciplined, but then enters this world of wealth and privilege and chaos where everything's for sale?
And we also didn't want her to be too kick-ass. We didn't want her to be a guy-girl. Just, she's doing backflips and kicking 6 guys and doing. We wanted her to feel real and be real and grounded, and so someone you can relate to, and you're with her when she's out on the roof trying to escape. You're terrified the same way she is. Really. So I think Reese and I discussed that character for a really long time before we got started and made sure. But we were on the same page right away. I mean, I got exactly what you kind of wanted to do, and we were all set.
I don't know if are we allowed to say AI?
AI.
Okay.
We're giving away the AI.
I'm just terrified of spoilers. You're getting so much trouble.
We just don't say how it pops up.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was so interesting to see it in the book, because obviously, even though we're talking about it all the time, there's still not like a ton of it in novels, and the different ways in which AI is manifesting. Like, I learned about AI porn yesterday, and I was like, I hadn't even thought about that. The mind just spirals. Why?
Tell us more. No.
Well, I was interviewing a porn actor, and he was like, the whole industry could be gone, and I was like, I had not even thought about that. Anyway, I'll leave the porn behind. As people who craft is everything to your work. I mean, you are who you are because of the roles that you've embodied and because of the stories that you've written and now the stories you've written together. How do you feel? There's obviously plenty of potential to AI, but it's also terrifying to lots of people in the arts. Why is it interesting to you? Why did you want to fold it into your first book together?
I think neither one of us want to answer any questions about it. Like, in terms of answering, we don't have any answers. We don't know.
Fair enough.
It's a long discussion. No, I don't mean your question. We can answer, but in the book, we wanted to sort of present it and raise some of the ethical dilemmas that go on with it. It's sort of, there's things about it, obviously, that fascinate everybody. And I always look at the whole world as, how can I use this in a story? And I think Reese and I both wanted to raise this issue, but we don't have an answer. I mean, that's fair to say. We want you guys to read it and decide for yourself the boundaries, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, and I think everybody's having these conversations right now. We were just recently somewhere where people were talking about chatbots and teenagers in a really unsettling way. And it's something I think about all the time as a mom. So I think, we want to raise discussion about it. One of the characters, works with it, and I don't know. And I think it reveals itself in an interesting way, too.
It's interesting that you say you didn't want to kind of answer anything, because I think you do see that. It is both a blessing and not a curse, but it's whether or not obviously it holds back from the true emotions.
Black and white's never interesting in a book. Gray is always interesting. So all the things that we do, talk about longevity clinics, cutting edge heart surgeries, how people deal with grief. There's a lot of things in this book, and all that makes the story, more fast-paced, more interesting.
And Dubai clubbing. You even got clubbing in Dubai in there as well.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
There is some heart-rending stuff in here. Did you get emotional while writing it, or are you both, how do you deal with the kind of emotional side of your job? Are you quite contained, or are you sort of sniveling over keyboards?
If you're not crying when you're writing the sad scenes, if you're not laughing when you're writing the funny scenes, we won't talk about the sex scenes. We kid, we joke.
This will make you laugh.
Actually, one thing that was interesting, I think we got very emotional, but I was listening, this book is also on audio tape, and since you already bought the book, I'll try to sell you the audio now, why not? But Reese reads the audio and Chris Pine. Yeah. We have quite a cast on this audio book.
Amazing.
But I was listening to Reese read it, and I could hear her getting emotional, and I was wondering what part of that was the actress and what part of that was the writer I saw. There's a particularly sad scene, a reveal with AI, and while she was reading it, I could hear her getting choked up, and I was listening to it going, I'm fine. No. So, she did a really great job with it also. But how much that was acting versus did you get caught up because you had created, you weren't just reading somebody else's words, you had created that story.
No, I got very choked up. When I'm performing it, I go into a different mode. So with reading the audiobook, I definitely cried. Some of these sequences are so beautiful about longing and partnership and really beautifully imagined. I didn't think about how I was going to perform it when we were creating it, but it all kind of came together in a great way.
Do you want to also tell them when you called me angry
yeah.
a couple times when we were doing audio?
Well, also there's a lot of specific medical jargon. There were a couple of days where I was like, I recorded the book for 36 hours. I don't know if you guys know how long it takes to record audiobooks. It's not short. You literally, and I had to, oh my God, it was crazy. But there were times where I'd say, cut the tape. And I'd call him on FaceTime and be like, really, dude? This is so hard to say.
Surgery
But
scenes,
you know what was harder than the
yeah.
surgery was there's a scene in, there's a gala in Russia, and he wrote in all these fancy cheeses. There's all these, there's so much cheese. And the names of specific cheeses were so hard to pronounce.
Do you? I often find that if I'm reading an audiobook, or I don't realize how many words I don't know how to pronounce until you have to pronounce them in person, and then it can become quite mortifying when you realize that you've got to a certain age and you actually have been saying a word wrong your whole life.
That's what happens to me. Yeah, the word Cupola.
Oh.
The thing that's on the top of a roof.
No, I know, but I think I probably don't know how to say that. Cupola?
I thought it was a cupola.
What is it?
It's cupola.
Oh, that's not too bad.
And then I tried to pull the I'm Southern. And they were like, well, Maggie's not. So.
Oh, I don't think that. I think you could have had a lot worse. I'm not going to reveal some of the ones that I couldn't say. You've obviously mentioned there with some of the medical terms, and both of your parents were surgeons. How much did you kind of already, how much research into the medical bits did you guys have to do, and how much was just in you from being, made to watch earlobe surgery age 5?
Harlan's wife is a pediatrician as well.
Yes, you said
so
your wife's a doctor.
We both have all
That's
these
useful.
medical connections, and we definitely wanted it to be accurate. So we called surgeons to help us walk
Reese is a
through.
little bit of a nerd, a research nerd. She was constantly sending me articles and little things she had found out, factoids. And sometimes I never they come in weird hours. I was like, is Reese not sleeping well, or is she overseas? But I'm from the hum a few bars and fake it school of research. Most books, I actually defend, and I'll quickly defend, not doing research for a book. I actually say writers do too much, because here's the reason. One, research writers will use any excuse not to write. It's like, I'll write, but first, let me put aluminum siding on my house. Any excuse not to write. And research is more fun than writing. So I'll always be like, I'm writing a scene in Park Avenue, New York. Oh, but I have to go to Park Avenue first. I have to smell the hot dog stands and watch the girls walk by. No, you know what it's like. Do it now, and don't use it as an excuse not to write. And the second reason is, have you ever read that book where the author fell in love with the research, so he keeps slowing down the story with factoids? Not an issue with my books, because I don't know anything. But here we wanted to get it right, so the challenge was, how do we use this research? Because a lot of this is cutting-edge stuff that some of it doesn't quite exist yet, but to propel the story forward. And that was something that was kind of new for me. And I think you held my feet to the fire a little bit on that.
Well, we would sit in there and it would have to be right on the edge of what's possible. So we had to do research about what was really happening, and I'd be sending him articles about a pig heart inside a woman in Alabama, and we had to make it pretty believable. And then we also had to have it so that Maggie, her husband, and their business partner, Trace, had invented something that was really critical to the success of certain transplants.
As someone who is obsessed with doing research, it definitely feels quite revealing to hear you say that essentially it's because that bit's more fun. I was just sitting there thinking, is that why I do so much?
It's a procrastination technique.
Oh, no.
Don't do it. If you're a writer out there, don't do research. Research isn't writing. Hanging at Starbucks is not writing. Creating characters is not writing.
I feel like it's okay to say that as Harlan
Only
Coben.
writing is writing. Getting your butt in the chair and producing words on page or paper counts as writing. And that's the end of my lecture.
This is the kick up the ass we all need. This is your 38th book?
I think so.
That's so cool to not even know how many books.
I really
It's like
don't.
living in a house and you don't know how many bedrooms you have. Congratulations.
I think 37 or 38. I wrote about one a year, so I started when I was 7.
Are you aiming to do a Barbara Cartland? I think she's like 950.
No, I don't think so.
Must be like one a week. So you've obviously written a lot of books. Do you still get daunted? I mean, it sounds like you are incredibly good about just, I'm a writer, sit down, write. But does that come from years of doing it? Does that come from confidence, or have you always been just incredibly efficient?
Oh, no, Reese can tell you, I am rabidly insecure and have self-esteem issues. So I'll be writing the book, and I'll be sitting there writing the book, and I'll go, oh my God, this is such crap. I was so good before. What happened to me? 5 minutes later, this is sheer genius. Someone's going to read that book and not give this work of Shakespearean proportions a chance. I go through it all of the time, and Reese had a deal. I said to Reese when we started a little bit, the expression, a novel's like a sausage. You might like the final taste. You don't want to see how it was made. So, I think insecurity drives me. And I think it probably drives Reese to some degree also. Like, don't you think, like, the fact that we have those self-doubts? I think when a writer starts thinking, I always say only bad writers think they're good. If you have a writer who's, oh yeah, my book's really good, trust me, it sucks. We all have that self-doubt. We all worry. We all think we suck. We all have imposter syndrome. It doesn't matter how many books you write, and I think when you lose that, it's when you lose your edge. You agree with that?
The key part of the creative process, right, that you're always like, I could have done that differently. The next project I do, I'm going to bring that feeling to this. It's what drives you to keep making what you think is better work?
Well, I think part of what was really, there was a big pressure point on both of us because first of all, we're successful in other ways. We didn't have to do this. We did it because I think, frankly, the idea is that good. And I think we both hold ourselves to very high standards, and we also knew we'd be scrutinized for doing it. So there's just a bigger target on the back. The more successful you are, the bigger the target is on your back. And so I just want to deliver something really great to the reader. And Harlan was always like, okay, what are the readers going to think of this? So anytime I felt nervous about it, I'd always go back to, if I was just somebody sitting in the carpool line, dropping off the kids and reading this, would I think I could be that girl? That could be me. And I would get out of it the same way she would get out of it. So I'm always thinking about the reader first. One
thing Reese would do also when we would sit talking sometimes, because and this, I find this there's a couple that are in this audience actually that I've worked with, but with really great actresses, sometimes when you start talking to them, they become the character. So like Reese's voice would just change a little bit, and she'd look up, and I'd be sitting there thinking to myself, ooh, Maggie's in the room right now. I could actually question my own character right here. So I'd be like, oh, so what would you do if, I would, she just a little thing. And I notice that a lot of times I'm talking to actresses or actors too, but about their part they're playing, they kind of they don't even realize it. They subconsciously start becoming that. And those were really great moments when we were working together. That's how Reese inhabits, I think, storytelling. She becomes that character.
Yeah.
I suppose
and this year I just pretended to be an author.
Well, but this is
it all worked out.
Acting.
I didn't know what I was doing. You just
But I
pretend.
think that's what's fascinating is that it's probably quite an unusual trajectory to be a acclaimed actor for a very long time and to be coming to that as a novelist. I think that's really interesting. You are bringing, it already sounds like your attitude to character is very different just by dint of being someone that embodies character themselves. It must have brought a lot of fresh insight to someone who has not acted yet. I don't know. I don't want to put you in a box.
He's been in some of his TV shows.
You missed Tech Guy and The Stranger. Hold on, I'll do it for you now.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Do you do cameos in?
Some I used to.
So you won't be in, because you've got a new one coming out in a couple of months, right? With a lot of
I think they
British
stuck my
actors.
picture in one of the scenes instead of actually me. So, but I don't think I'm in this one. No, I don't think I do anything. I started becoming like a thing, so then I don't want to do it when it becomes.
You don't want it to be a gimmick.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you could just quit Reese in.
Yeah.
She could start doing your
Reese,
cameos.
you want to be in the next one? Yeah. Okay.
Call my lawyer. I think another pressure that I felt too, in a good way, was we always talk about pressure as a privilege, and I think I'd seen so many movies, thrillers, James Bond movies when I was a little girl. My dad loved James Bond, and we would go and watch, but I could never see myself in the movie because there was only ever girls in bikinis or like the evil villain lady pouring the poison or stabbing somebody in the neck, and I was like, that's not really my sensibility. So when I thought about actually having to build a crime thriller in this international world we go from Russia to Dubai to France to the vineyard country, I thought I really want to have this character be quintessentially feminine in the way that she moves through the world, but that she's not using her sexuality to get ahead. She's actually just really good at this very specific skill that everybody wants. And I thought, that's very relatable. That's something that I would want to see, the next Jason Bourne do.
It's funny that you mentioned James Bond because I think...
Thank you. I feel a big responsibility to women. I feel, and I'm sure people feel that, but I feel a responsibility, and I don't know why in particular, but I do feel like women deserve better stories, and they deserve to see themselves as heroes, because women, quite frankly, save the day all the time. And we're not typically hanging around in bikinis while we do it. Sometimes you're wearing a sensible shoe.
Crushing men to death with their thighs. That's what I always remember of James Bond. And I was always watching them when I was like 4.
Have a job? I watched my mother go be a nurse and teach and then work on the weekends. She was never hanging around in a bikini, but she was always fixing everything.
Surely she could have just fixed everything in a bikini.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have seen that there's companies that now do literary tours, so you can go and visit all of the destinations from an Emily Henry book or from the Percy, I can't remember the surname, the fantastical one. Can you imagine if someone went on a tour of this book? It would just be a kind of like a bachelor party. You'd go from all of these incredible
expensive.
cities. Yes, it would.
We write very fancy locations.
You could get a luxury tour operator.
Like Reese we're going to Russia first. That's going to be freezing cold. Let's go to Middle East next, so it's hot. And then we needed some wine, so we went to Bordeaux.
Yeah.
For the
Wait,
vineyards.
did you go to all the places?
No.
Oh, just in. Okay, I thought you were
they say lawyers do it in their
Reese.
briefs, or writers do it in their imagination.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that later. So yeah, we just made it up.
There's still time. Reese, you touched on it there about there being expectation because you're both incredibly well known in your field, and you've obviously become really well known around books and the influence that you have around books with your book club. How has working in the books world kind of influenced the way that you read, the way you think about character, the way you came to writing a book yourself?
Well, it's massive what it's done in my life. I started a book club in 2014 or 2015 on Instagram, mainly because I was posting things anyway, and then I saw somebody on Facebook had created a fake Reese's book club, and then I was mad. Because they were posting whatever they wanted to, and I was like, that's not cool, that's not fair. So I decided to kind of just take it all back and really start picking one book a month, and we've picked over 100 books, and over 90 of them have hit the New York Times bestseller list. So, which is amazing for these authors. And I think it has profoundly changed my life. Mainly in that it's created a community, a global community of people who are passionate about storytelling. And the only real criteria that we have is that it has to be written by a woman, and it has to have a woman at the center of it who is the hero of her own story. And then, out of that, we started getting the option on some of the books and turning them into movies and television shows. So we've done everything from Where the Crawdads Sing to Big Little Lies to Daisy Jones and the Six. And it's just been the greatest experience because my passion for empowering women, highlighting other talented people who deserve it, and just my love of movies and filmmaking all started to align. And then it's like my whole life opened up in a new way. When I was like 35 years old. It was really amazing.
It is an incredible thing.
Thank you.
Sorry, you can't really clap when you're holding a microphone.
Bad golf clap.
It's an incredible thing that you've done with your book club, because I hear people say, you and Jenna, when the book becomes a book club thing, is you have given them a platform. It's like winning the Booker or the Woman's Prize. You've given them a platform that is almost impossible to get, especially for some novels that might be an indie success. Or do you feel the pressure of that when you are choosing books? You're like, which one? Because you know the impact it's going to have.
The only thing I think about is this great writing? Is it great writing? And do I want to? My biggest metric is, do I want to share it? Because it's all good to read a smarty pants book and then think, oh, that was super depressing, and now I learned a lot about the Russian Revolution. But it's a totally different thing to connect with someone over a book or a story. And I also think Percival Everett, who just won the Pulitzer for James, I don't know if anybody read James, he said in his Pulitzer speech, he said, the most subversive thing you can do right now is be in a book club. Because you're socializing ideas in a world where people are trying to make you say less, express less, think less. You're actually pushing humanity forward. And I'm so inspired. Thank you. I'm so inspired by so many book club authors. And I know there's some here tonight who have been amazing. In particular, our UK authors have just been, are you guys here? Raise your hand if you're a Reese's Book Club author. Hi.
Oh, hey, go.
They're just so great. And then they come out to LA, and we have this big event every year. I know, I love you too. And we just get to know each other. And then the other unexpected thing is they all become friends. And so in this really lonely profession, now you have people to bounce ideas off. You can talk deal flow. You can talk about, what did you ask for in your next book? And it's created a great community within the author world.
I do think it's really interesting that, I don't know if this is in the States, but I know in the UK that people are statistically reading less than ever before. But I'm seeing people have more conversations around books. Like, I run a book Substack, and the commentary on it, like, I'm talking about books with people that I didn't do for the first 35 years of my life. There are so many people who are just reading their socks off, and they just want to talk about it all the time. So it's interesting to me when you hear things like that, because it's such a rich world of, as you say, ideas. It's very pro-social.
I mean, Harlan works with the Queen on her reading stats.
Queen's Reading Room, are you familiar with the Queen's Reading Room here?
Okay.
Where she has she used science to get people to read. Look, we all know this, right? But scientifically, by studying brainwaves, how good it is to read. Even if you read 5 minutes a day of a book, it improves your mental health, helps you sleep. It's good for you. We all know this. We all know we should be putting our phones down, and that we should be scrolling less, and that reading is good for us. I mean, this is the great thing about having this sort of event tonight. Like, there's nothing bad about a book. And so the more we can encourage people to read, obviously, the more empathy and the better off we'll all be. So, that's what the Queen, and to give the Queen credit, she's really been doing she's taking it from a scientific viewpoint, the same way we're told to walk 10,000 steps a day or eat 5 fruits and vegetables. Just read 5 minutes a day before the end. And Reese and I have been saying this is our dream for this book. Like, we were talking all this highfalutin stuff, but this is a thriller, right? We want you to go to bed tonight around 10:30, 11. Say, I'm just going to read for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Next thing you know, it's 4 in the morning, and you're cursing us. I'll be honest, that arouses me. It does. I'm sorry, it just does.
You should start it at 7. Yes. Go to bed with it at 7, maybe even 6.
That's right. Well, you're here, so you're not going to. But we want this to be a compelling thriller. We want this to be the novel of immersion that we love too, and you just disappear.
But I will say, to give you both a compliment, thrillers are, there is something of a kind of, sometimes there's a bit of a rage bait there where you read it just because you're so annoyed and you're like, you're stringing me along now, I want to get to the end. Whereas I feel like the way you two approached it was not just, there was a lot of deep work and themes in there. It just wasn't, it wasn't like a whodunit. Like, I do feel like a lot of thrillers, that is we
wanted to stir the pulse, rather than stir the pulse and stir the mind, but if you don't stir the heart, it's not going to work. It's not going to stick with you. And the ending's a little bit of a gut punch, and we wanted that to be a little bit of a gut punch, and we're hoping it lingers. That's
quite a few gut punches.
Good.
When I was lying in this very cold bath reading it, I was like, oh no, because I knew what was coming a few times. I was like, have you always been really into thrillers, Reese, or are you will you read any genre? Is there any genre you won't read, actually? That's what's interesting.
No, I read everything. I was as a kid, just love books, but thrillers are my favorite. I mean, I love true crime too. Any Netflix documentary about,
Luckily, there are a lot of those.
The girl who fell off the boat and what happened. I just think it's so fascinating. And I always think I know what happened. I'm like, I know exactly what happened. But I just think there's something really, I don't know what it is about women in true crime. It's a thing.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. But it's interesting. It's become such a thing that there's now quite a lot of ethical questions around it, isn't it? Like, there are a lot of production companies now that I won't make true crime because it takes such a toll on the people making it.
We'll do that. And I really think also the shareable piece of it too, because you want to read it along with friends. So it creates sort of thrillers, I think, are best read in a group.
Having set up Hello Sunshine, you talk about how a lot of the books that you pick for the book club, you'll then think about how to adapt. You have both said that you didn't write this book thinking it would be a good movie or it would be a good series. How, when both of you are so good at that, did you not let your brain do that? Because I did that. I've cast it, in the bath. I can see it all.
We want that. I mean, we both think cinematically, and we want it to be cinematic. But there's a big difference between the experience of a book and the experience of a TV show. And that's all we meant. I think both of us think, especially Reese, thinks cinematically. That's when she was saying, okay, if we're going to be in cold Russia, and then there's a party in Russia. I don't think I would have put the party in the book if I'd been writing that part on my own. But Reese said, no, we got this huge...
You have to have a party. Because I want to see what it's like there. And I want to imagine a character walking through being a stranger in a strange land and seeing all these incredible food and with women dressed to the nines.
The set decoration of that palace would just be...
I mean, and I love to see movies that have all that stuff too. I love pretty people in gorgeous places dancing in fancy clothes.
There's a bit of the James Bond in there.
And true crime. And a strong female lead. I mean, I just want it all. So when you create it yourself, you get it all.
Before we go to the audience questions, which have been submitted in advance, the billion-dollar question, will you collaborate again? I can see Maggie's got more stories.
I'm frankly getting a little sad because we only have one more stop left, and I'm gonna miss him.
I know.
I mean,
who am I gonna call and whine to now? Like, I have to now whine to myself again. Like I've been doing all these years. I would call Reese. I'm like, I'm stuck right now. And then she'd have to write.
Yeah, he would text me and be like, I'm stuck, and I'd be like, hold on, I'm gonna drop everything. I was like, kids, I have to go talk to Harlan. It's a very important part of the book. But yeah, I think we have a great partnership. I would love to do it again. I think we just have to see if the book is successful, if people like it. You guys want to tell all your friends? That would be helpful.
Also listen to the audio.
Yeah, listen to the audio, see what you think.
But it was really funny. I would just contact her, and the one thing that people, they probably know this about Reese, but you wouldn't guess, okay, great actress, great storyteller, great businesswoman, all of that, but like a great life coach also. She knew exactly like when to push me, when to back off, when to like hold my feet to the fire, when to become, it was like really like, wow, she's so good at this, at managing people, or in this case, a person who is not a normal, stable human being, that it was really kind of interesting to watch her skills in that area. And so I don't think I still stuck to my guns that I probably would never collaborate with anybody else, but with Reese, it was a privilege and an honor and fun.
Thank you. Thanks, buddy.
So this is the first question. What do you hope that readers will take away from Gone Before Goodbye, beyond, of course, the suspense?
I mean, I do think it's sort of genre breaking in terms of, I can't think of another crime thriller, international intrigue and spies that has a woman at the center of it, I just can't think of one.
And
Am I wrong?
Surgeon as well.
What's that?
Female surgeon.
And a female surgeon, yeah, with this very particular skill set. So I like that. I think that's, even if that just sort of inspires you to think about the other medical people in your life, and maybe it's just to encourage people to think more of that profession. And I think we all honor those people, but we in particular hold them in high regard.
What about you, Harlan?
I mean, the same. There's a lot of cool issues in here, and I hope that you dive in. And I'm a thriller writer. I want you to read this. It's always like a cross between I want you to dive in and it be juicy and you enjoy it, but I also want you to read it really fast. The other night someone online said to us, "Oh, I'm 3/4 of the way through it." I'm thinking, and you could leave your house tonight? You can go. You can come here and see. Aren't you dying
to
know?
That as a dig?
I was like a little bit like I wasn't sure, and then we saw reading in the crowd before the thing. We were okay. At least you're still going on. So we're both ambitious and greedy. We kind of want it all for you. We want want you to laugh and cry and become a part of us. Yeah.
I think this is quite a challenging question, but you might rise to the occasion. If the book had a theme tune, what would it be? I want to pretend they said, and you have to sing it, but I feel like that might be too far.
Wow.
A theme tune?
All right, who asked that question?
It's Louise.
Thanks, Louise.
I don't know. I mean, we talk a lot about the music that would play at the bar.
Right.
I mean, you don't know.
Tattoo Vampire by Blue Oyster Cult. I have no idea.
I think that was a good shot.
Really know.
Yeah, no, it's a difficult question.
Maybe something by Nick Cave, something slow and sad by Nick Cave. Yeah, like good. Waiting for You by Nick Cave. Somebody sing it for me. It's used in a show called Just One Look, a Polish show. So sad, beautiful song. We do want this to. The other thing Reese and I decided to do was be a little darker. I think people expect Reese Witherspoon was going to be Hello Sunshine. And Reese and I talked about it early on, and I was like, I got a super dark last twist. And Reese was like, oh, I'm all in. And then all of a sudden she was like, I got something even darker. Like, oh, easy, Tiger.
Maybe that could be like the sort of brother company to Hello Sunshine. Goodbye Rain Clouds.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
A little bit literal.
Goodbye darkness.
What do you think are each other's greatest strengths? Reese, what are Harlan's greatest strengths?
Harlan's greatest strengths? Well, he has so many. Construction, I think, is a huge thing. He was so open about sharing with me his whole process. So I felt really lucky. And then also the double twist. The twist and then the next twist. And that was really, really cool to watch.
Reese is an unbelievable storyteller. I mean, people kind of know that and they don't, but like in a room, and really such a generous partner. It was just, we left our egos at the door. We were completely open and honest, and I was often shocked at how good her ideas were. In fact, and some people who know me will understand this, we had sort of a planned ending, and about 50 pages left. Reese said, I have an idea to tweak the ending. I'm like, whoa, no one touches my endings.
I don't know what the outtake was.
And she was right. She was right. I was like, at first I was kind of like, let me think about it. And next morning I kind of woke up and I wrote it that way. So I called her and I go, no, you're right. So it was a great, Reese was just a great partner and very generous partner. And I think we both created a space where we could be ourselves.
I'm so intrigued now what it was like before. I'd also argue, by the way, that there are 3 twists in the book. I'd argue it's a triple twist.
Oh, but at the end, there's a double twist.
We pulled the muscle with the twists.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
You're just talking about the end, but okay.
Very last paragraph.
What is the most useful thing that you have gained individually from collaborating together?
I mean,
these questions.
I know,
Come
they're
on,
good
guys.
questions.
Where's the where do you get your ideas question? Come on.
I think the confidence to do something new. I know this doesn't feel like completely out of my wheelhouse, but it is completely out of my wheelhouse. I normally just show up and I'm an actor and I go into someone else's world. They've already created it. They already know what it is. They know all the characters. So having to actually step back and be part of the creating of the world was really scary. But thrilling too. And it's fun to have, I've never had a good idea for a book ever. And I probably never will again. So the fact that I actually did and that this incredible person decided to write it with me was just a dream come true. I mean, it's true. It's really a dream come true.
I'd say, and we not really talk about this that much tonight, but we were terrified, and we still kind of are. Like, it's a book now. Say it's like Berkeley's Tree in the Woods. If a tree falls and nobody hears it, doesn't make a sound. If we write a book and no one reads it, it doesn't make a sound. And now, finally, when you read this, Maggie, Porkchop, Nadia, all these people come to life in your head different from everybody else's. And that's the magic of a book. But we, and I'm saying one of the great things is that about doing this experience is despite our careers, we were able to push ourselves and do something new and different. And it's something just to, I'm not, going to be Pollyanna or take advice from us or any of that, but there's a lot of you out there who want to write a book. Reese mentioned When the Crawdad Sings. Delia Owens was 70 years old when her first novel came out. 70. It's not like I'm not going to be an NBA basketball player anymore. That dream ends at like 19 or 20. But your dream of still wanting to write a book or do something scary like that still exists. And for us, this was a chance to kind of do something like that, even though we were already in pretty good positions. And that was sort of fun, to be able to terrify yourself again.
So that would be one of the takeaways, or in fact, the takeaway, that you should never stop terrifying yourself creatively.
Never.
Well, it paid off, I will say. Huge congratulations on Gone Before Goodbye, and thank you so much to everybody who came to watch Reese and Harlan tonight.
Thank you, Pandora. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have to do a selfie, guys.
We'd like to take a picture of everybody, if that's okay.